"I am not Burmese," the little boy insisted. "I am Japanese, and I died in the jungle with blood pouring from my throat." Two languages clashed in his tiny mouth as Maung Myint Lwin rattled off Japanese words no one around him understood. Neighbors stared, terrified, as he spoke of gunfire, bayonets, and the screams of dying men deep in Burma's wartime forests. Maung Myint Lwin was born a Burmese boy in the village of Pyinmana, central Burma, around the year 1948. He was the son of a Buddhist Burmese family, simple villagers with no ties to Japan. He grew up in a modest wooden house among rice fields and dusty roads. His family spoke only Burmese, lived as Buddhists, and had never traveled abroad. By the time he was 3 years old, Maung Myint Lwin began talking about a life as a Japanese soldier. He would sometimes burst out with phrases like Nippon Heishi Desu, meaning "I am a Japanese soldier" in Japanese. His parents did not understand what he was saying. They only knew he was speaking a language that sounded utterly foreign. In Burmese, he told his family, "I wore a khaki uniform, I carried a gun, I slept under the trees, I marched through the jungle, then I was shot in the throat. Blood was coming out, and I fell." Whenever he spoke about this soldier's life, Maung Myint Lwin's small body trembled. He would clutch his neck as though feeling pain, and sometimes he cried until he could not speak. The sight frightened his mother so deeply that she tried to hush him, but the boy kept speaking. He described the jungle air as thick and wet. He said the ground smelled like mud and rotting leaves. He remembered rain beating hard on green leaves. He said he felt bugs crawling on his skin and the heat pressing like a blanket. He said, "My uniform was heavy with rain. My feet hurt from the boots. I was hungry, always hungry." He talked about a red sun flag, about saluting superior officers, about shouting orders in Japanese. He used words like sencho, meaning captain, and guntai, meaning military. He even described how soldiers tied cloth strips around their heads before charging into battle. He said he had been part of a group moving through Burma during World War II. He claimed the soldiers were escaping Allied attacks when ambushed by enemy fire. He recalled running, then being shot in the neck. He remembered falling to the ground and choking on blood. He said, "I could not breathe. I tasted blood. I heard guns. I thought of my mother in Japan." After his death, he said, he floated above the trees and watched the soldiers leave him behind. He claimed he drifted across water and mountains before coming into his mother's womb in Burma. Whenever Maung Myint Lwin heard Japanese spoken on the radio, he became excited and tried to respond. Witnesses recalled him sitting up straight, speaking rapidly in Japanese. His parents were shocked because no one in the household spoke Japanese, and he had never been exposed to Japanese visitors. People who knew Japanese confirmed that many of his words were real and used properly, though his grammar was childlike. A Japanese speaker interviewed by Dr. Ian Stevenson said the boy pronounced certain military terms with a genuine Japanese accent. He knew the word kaigun for navy and heitai for soldier, and even uttered the phrase Nippon wa makaru nai, meaning Japan does not lose. Dr. Ian Stevenson began investigating the case in the 1960s. He interviewed Maung Myint Lwin, his parents, neighbors, and villagers who had heard the boy's statements. The doctor recorded precise phrases the boy used in both Japanese and Burmese. Stevenson confirmed that Japanese forces did indeed operate in Burma, particularly around Pyinmana during World War II. The timeline fit. Japanese soldiers retreated through central Burma in 1945. Maung Myint Lwin was born about 3 years later in 1948. Though the boy never named his Japanese identity, his descriptions match real military events in the region. However, no definitive identification of the specific soldier was ever established. Maung Myint Lwin carried no birthmarks resembling bullet wounds, but whenever someone touched his neck or when he wore tight collars, he became fearful. He would slap people's hands away from his throat. His parents avoided dressing him in anything close around his neck because it caused him distress. During his childhood, Maung Myint Lwin showed little interest in typical Burmese games. Instead, he played soldier, marching stiffly, pretending to fire rifles, and giving commands in Japanese. He once built tiny foxholes behind his house, instructing neighborhood boys to crawl inside them to hide from imaginary enemies. He showed a particular curiosity for military uniforms. If he saw pictures of soldiers, he would stare intently. Once, during a festival, a Japanese man visited Pinmana. Maung Myint Lwin reportedly followed him, speaking fragments of Japanese, eager to touch the man's khaki shirt. He was described as a serious child, quiet, polite, but prone to sudden bursts of emotion. Teachers noticed he sometimes drifted into silence, eyes distant, as if lost in another world. He was not known to be aggressive, but became anxious during loud noises like firecrackers or gunshots. There were no reports that Maung Myint Lwin ever tried to contact a Japanese family or claim inheritance. His parents, deeply Buddhist, accepted the possibility of reincarnation, but worried the talk might bring gossip or shame. Some neighbors whispered that a ghost must be possessing him. Others feared it was bad karma. A few older villagers believed his words, recalling the war years vividly. There was no legal action or inheritance claim. The case remained only a personal and community mystery. As Maung Myint Lwin grew older, his memories faded. By his teenage years, he spoke less and less about the Japanese soldier. Neighbors said he stopped using Japanese phrases. As an adult, he worked in ordinary jobs, living quietly in Burma. There are no reports of him seeking further contact with Japanese people or pursuing military interests. Dr. Stevenson's notes confirm that the case remains one of the stronger examples of a child spontaneously speaking a foreign language linked to a claimed past life. Yet the identity of the Japanese soldier Maung Myint Lwin claimed to be has never been conclusively proven. No official documents, dog tags, or personal effects were ever traced to confirm the boy's former identity. The case is considered suggestive rather than proven. But those who heard Maung Myint Lwin's words as a boy never forgot the haunted look in his eyes when he said, "I am Japanese. I died in Burma. I want to go home."